Hello, Jane. Nice to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you.
So what would you like to work on then?
Well, it seems a real petty thing, but it's in because it's bothering me. So it's an issue I've got with a neighbour next door.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine had words with my neighbour next door last year sometime, and I felt uncomfortable.
What's your neighbour's name?
Frank. And I felt uncomfortable about that ever since, even though I know that it's not to do with me. But nevertheless, it's this sort of irrational feeling I get, this uncomfortableness, which is totally irrational, you know.
What did they say?
Well, they're not saying anything to me. They don't speak to my friend anymore.
What's your friend called?
Stephen.
How long have you known him?
6 years I've known him. So he spends...
Nice.
Yeah, he's nice, yeah. But he spends quite a lot of time at my house.
Have you got a husband or a partner?
Well, he is my sort of boyfriend, partner.
So he spends a lot of time there?
Yeah, he does.
Do you think you might marry him?
I don't know. I don't know. But the trouble is that, so that's that issue, but the neighbour on the other side is always shouting across my garden to Frank, which I find really annoying.
Is that when you're in the garden?
When I'm in garden, when I'm in sitting room.
Just and the neighbour on the other side is called what?
Keith.
So you've got Keith shouting across to Frank?
To Frank all the time.
Do you sunbathe in the garden?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you sunbathe topless?
No.
So you're not worried about them seeing you topless then?
No, I'm not worried about them seeing me topless, no.
So go on then.
But the thing is, it's annoying. But because I feel this uncomfortableness with Frank, I don't feel that I can sort of do out about it, about this sort of shouting that's going on. So what I decided to do last week, I'm going to put a load of conifers down Keith's side.
Well, that sounds a good idea, because I saw something on television and this man was suing the people next door because they put these, you know, Cupressus leylandii up, and they grow about 3 foot a year, don't they? Sounds a good idea, that. So where will you buy those from?
Well, from garden centre. But, I mean, I'm not actually buying, like, 4 or 5 together because I can't afford to. I'm just going to buy one at a time, and I've put one in. You know, and I shall buy another one next week and put another one in and sort of do it like that, rather than just sort of sticking all these leylandis in.
Right.
You know.
Is he a keen gardener, this Frank?
Yeah.
So, I mean, would that annoy him?
Well, I don't know. I'm not actually putting him up on Frank's side, I'm putting him up on Keith's side.
On Keith's side, right.
Yeah, because it's Keith that's doing the shouting all the time.
So do you think he'll stop shouting with just one conifer there?
Well, I'm sure he won't, you know, but I think he'll soon get idea. But I feel uncomfortable about it. And this uncomfortableness that I feel is, I'm uncomfortable with myself. Because I feel that, you know, this issue with Stephen, my friend, and Frank, who lives on the other side.
There's a lot of men living around you, haven't you? I mean, you're on your own, are you, normally, apart from when your boyfriend stays. I mean, that's good then, isn't it, that there's all these different men around to do.
Obviously that was awful, you know. But I'd like you just to reflect on that, Jane. How are you actually feeling now?
Well, actually, I felt like laughing a couple of times, you know, and I really didn't know, you know, how to react.
Right.
You know what I mean? And just sort of tried to sort of be kind to you, really, I suppose.
Right. What was I actually doing to you?
Well, you want being empathic.
Right.
you talked over me a couple of times. You were insensitive. I mean, I know obviously you were you know, this is a role play.
But how did it leave you feeling? I was actually asking you loads of irrelevant questions.
Yeah.
And how did it make you feel? Yes, I know you said you felt like
frustrated.
laughing. Frustration.
Yeah, frustrated.
And whilst you knew that, you know, it was a pitfall, at the same time your feelings are real, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, you really did feel frustrated.
Yes, I did, yeah.
So I do apologise.
It's quite all right, yeah.
I was also loading a lot of my kind of morality onto you in terms of, you know, how you should be behaving with these blokes and, and often people can sound as if they're trying to be helpful and they're asking you all kinds of, you know, insensitive questions about things because the counsellor is anxious. You know, the nose is growing and they ask loads of questions and the mouth can't stop. Just to make them feel better.
Yeah.
So I do apologise.
It's quite all right.
Hello, Alan. Nice to see you again.
Here again, yeah.
How many times now? It must be a couple of months now.
Well, I don't know, to be quite honest. I mean, I think after the first time in Birmingham, we met about a month later, didn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a journey for me, obviously, you know, to come up here. But this is no exaggeration that in the diary, your name is pencilled in big letters.
Really?
Really is, yeah. I've got such a lot out of, you know, just being able to talk to someone that's a little bit detached from my work situation.
Oh, that's nice.
But, you know, and I feel that obviously I can talk in confidence and that, you know, nobody else is going to know, are they? And I haven't said it, you know, to Julie. I haven't, you know, I haven't sort of gushed my enthusiasm too much, but I mean, it's got to the stage really where I've told you things that I've, you know, I certainly wouldn't tell my wife or anybody. But yeah, I mean, you know, last time we talked about me moving on. I mean, I'm a little bit anxious about the new job, obviously.
Because this is going to be our last session now, isn't it?
Well, we muted that last time, didn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel I ought to make the break, and yet, you know, because I've got, you know, I think we've gone on very well, haven't we?
We have, yes.
You know, and I think because of that, you know, I want to make the break in that I don't think we necessarily need to meet every so often, you know, because of, you know, dealing with any issues. But I do want to, you know, to stay in touch, you know, because I'd feel a little bit of a betrayal if I said, right, thank you very much, Jean, I'm off now.
That feels
you
nice.
know, and you know, because I am grateful.
Oh, that's nice.
Because, well, obviously, you know, because of the help I've had.
Oh, that's nice.
You know,
I look forward to seeing you.
I mean, you know, what I wondered if, you know, if I could have your phone number, and
yeah,
you know, I wondered if.
But my home number as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
sure. Yeah.
and you know, I mean, we know this will be the last session, but I mean, I can't see any reason, you know, why we shouldn't go out for a meal or something, you know, or meet up.
Yeah.
You know, in less, you know, in a less formal situation. You know, because I have got a lot out of it.
I'm glad about that.
Yeah. I mean, I still think there are issues, you know, that I need to deal with, you know, some of which we've talked about in the past, haven't we? I'm still not happy with, you know, with aspects of my personality. Still not happy with the cynicism that I display a lot of the time, and this negativity. You know, it's. I think I I think last time I brought it up, didn't I? About you know, the friend that rings me, the very cynical friend, and I'm a good support to him, you know, but it's so draining, his negativity and cynicism. And now I'm seeing the same in me, you know, and, you know, as I get older, I think, well, am I going to be looking back at, you know, missed opportunities because of this negativity? Yeah. But we have made tremendous strides. We've made tremendous strides, haven't we?
We have. Just think what you were like when you first came.
Yeah, it's absolutely staggering. I mean, I know I didn't want to come to that first one, and I was very sort of anxious. I think more than anything, I doubted that anything could be done. You know, I think sometimes you can get yourself into a certain frame of mind or a certain sort of pit of despair or whatever, and you know, not realise there's a solution or not want to realise the solution. But I couldn't have done it. You know, it's you. It's down to you. It is down to you, Jean. There's no doubt about it.
Thank you. Right. So we've now finished that. Thank you ever so much for doing that. You were absolutely superb.
Was it a bit corny?
You know, it was absolutely fine.
Reach for your cig bags.
And what do you think I mean, you were in terms
You're a
of
bit familiar. I mean, I'm not a touchy person. I'm not a touchy person at all. I can't be doing with people. People touch me, even people that are relatively close to me, emotionally close to me. It was, yeah, it was a little bit off-putting, wasn't it?
Yeah. And the pitfall I was trying to demonstrate was this sort of like gruesome twosome
I think
that counsellors can get into. Oh, you know, I'm wonderful and super counsellor.
I think you've got to keep a certain reserve, haven't you?
Yeah. And the touch. You know, there's inappropriate touch and there's appropriate touch. And, you know, this long, you know, doing this was like, you know, a bit inappropriate, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, for me, it distracted from what we were trying to say.
And also, in terms of boundaries, you see, it's important that the counsellor has boundaries. So you don't give your home telephone. You know, you don't go out for a meal. You know, you don't abuse the client.
That special relationship.
Yeah, because the relationship in here is very different from, you know, friendship in the bar or having a meal or. And so the pitfall I'm trying to demonstrate was, you know, the gruesome twosome of getting sucked into the, you know, the client who falls in love with you, you know, and becomes dependent on you and using you as a crutch.
Would you have to be careful not to slap somebody down though? Because I might actually have wanted that contact. I might have, Jean. I mean, how do you then say, right, buzz off now, you've got a new job and you know, I'll like you enough to sort of help you with your problem, but I don't like you that much. I mean, how do you...
Well, it's the same as with referral, really. If you have to refer, and counsellors do have to refer, and I mean, I've had to refer, you know, there's areas everyone can't deal with. You have to be aware of what those are, so you know, you refer very supportively. But it's knowing how you can stop that gruesome twosome. So the first bit, you know, that was thanks very much was fine, but as the counsellor, you would then, you know, pull away, and you would be giving the messages out that, you know, that's a bit too intimate. But you go into this game of collusion, you know, where you collude with the client's need, you know, and thinking, oh, aren't I wonderful? And you have to be aware of that and stop it.
What if you are wonderful, though?
You still have to stop it. You have to go and think, I'm wonderful, but I stopped it. Oh, just so. Is it? It's Louise and
Woodcock.
Woodcock. Okay, yes, and it's now. And the date is the
23rd.
23rd. Okay, thanks very much. Right, so, yes, nice to see you, Louise.
Nice to meet
Okay, so, what is it you'd like to talk to me about?
you. I've come mainly because I'm tired. I'm tired and I'm exhausted, and I'm trying to juggle so many different things at the moment. And I don't feel that I'm doing any of them any justice. The things that I'm trying to juggle are I've taken on a new job. Things are a little bit unstable there. The goalposts have been shifted in my job. My job description is changing. I'm also living away from my partner and renting close to where I work with a view to moving over there. But we're looking to sell the house, and obviously that's taking time. And
They do, don't they?
yeah. I'm spending my week on my own, and that is the very time that I need the support from my partner. And we're having long telephone conversations, but that's, I mean, it helps, but
It's
when
expensive.
you can't, it is expensive, but I can't see his face. So I find that I go back at the weekends, and I have to make the weekends sort of happy times, and hey, it's worth it me going away and doing this job, which he encouraged me to take, and we said we'd work out, you know, the logistics of living apart. But I feel that because I've done that, I have to sort of come back and make weekends work. And that's the very time that I need the support. I feel like I just come back and I'm like a sack of potatoes. And I just want to collapse and just be quiet and alone at the weekends. But I've also got to fit in friendships, and I feel that then I have to do all sort of the domestic chores, because he's, you know, during the week he's sort of run the house on his own, and, you know, organised paying the bills, etc. He's sort of taken over the domestic role, which we used to share, and obviously I can't do that, and I work very long hours. And it's just really difficult to balance the two, and I kind of feel that I've just I've made the decision. I mean, I could have taken jobs in Sheffield, but they just wouldn't have paid as well. And I went for this, and I feel that I've been quite selfish.
Come on, don't start crying.
And
you don't want people to see you cry, do you? You don't want people to see you upset like that.
but I am upset. I mean, that's what I want to talk to you about. I mean, I want to know. Like, I almost want someone to tell me that, hey, come home, it doesn't matter. Come home and, you know...
Well, come on, we're not going to get anywhere if you're sniffling like that. Just dry your eyes for a start, and then we can perhaps...
But I can't show my emotions at home. I come back and I have to be... I don't have anywhere to do this. I have to put on a brave face and, hey, you know, and almost sort of say, you know, it's really going to be worth it in the end.
But it is, isn't it? I mean, if you say those sort of things to yourself, I mean, it will be worth it.
But that's not how I feel. But I feel that I can't show my emotions.
But, I mean, you need to start thinking positively, don't you? I mean, it's no good wallowing in self-pity. There's too much of this.
But I can't seem to... during the week I'm alone, and I live in a house. I'm renting a house from a guy who does continental shifts, so I virtually have no contact after sort of 6 or 7 at night, apart from on the telephone.
But, I mean, but you chose this job away from him, didn't you?
Well, I did choose the job, yes, but I mean, and he did back me. and told me that...
You know what, I mean, they change minds, don't they? I mean, you can't hold men down to anything like that.
But he, I mean, he was supportive, and I mean, it's a really good job. It's a really good job, and I mean, it was an excellent career move, and there wasn't the opportunity. I mean, I did look in Sheffield. I did look, and
well, perhaps you didn't look hard enough. I mean, have you looked recently? I mean, do you get,
no,
do you get some
because I
decent papers with decent jobs in, or do you kind of just wander around job centres?
Well, to be honest, I don't buy the papers anymore. I'm really trying to make a go of this.
Well, I mean, how can you expect to get a decent job if you're not even trying?
But I have one. I mean, I have one. It's just, it's in the wrong place. It's, you know...
Didn't you think about that before you took it?
I did think about that. Of course I did. I mean, we mulled it over, we talked it through, and we said it won't be long, we'll be able to sell the house, and, you know, we'd be able to get a nice place close to where I work, and that he would then look for jobs in and around where I'm now working. But I mean, all of these things take time, and at the moment I just feel that I've put us in this situation, and I know he's finding it very difficult.
Is that what, I mean, he probably thinks that as well, does he, that it's your fault?
Well, I guess that's what I'm thinking he thinks.
I mean, it sounds like it is, though, isn't it? I mean, you do have to face up to these things, Louise. I mean, you can't just keep on doing your own thing, can you? You know, you've either got to have a job or you've got to decide on being with him. If it's worrying you that you're not with him, just change and come a bit nearer.
So, what do you think I should do?
Well, you know what you should do. You tell me. I don't want to be the one telling you what to do.
Well, I don't know what I should do. I mean, my heart's saying, go home and...
OK, so do that. Go home. Right, first of all, go home, right? Secondly, the best solution for you would be to try and get a job nearby. Even if you have to get something with less money. That'd be much better, wouldn't it, really? And then it would stop all your travelling, and you're probably spending extra money, aren't you, with your travelling? You could put that to your mortgage, couldn't you? I mean, that makes sense.
But this was like it was an opportunity of a lifetime. Jobs like this just don't come up, you know, and...
Well, I mean, he could move near to you then, couldn't he?
Yes, he could, but it's just the in-between time that I'm finding difficult, the interim, the being apart. And it's making me very tired, and the travelling's tiring, and the coming home at weekends and almost having to put on a different hat, you know, and I'm not showing how I'm feeling and saying, hey, this is really good, it's going to work out, when all the time I'm thinking, you know, I'm really lonely over there, but I don't tell him, because I feel that if he knows how I'm feeling, he's going to say, you know, hey, just come back. But I don't want to. I really want to make this work.
Well, perhaps he's not the right one for you. Have you thought of that? Perhaps you should try and find someone else who's nearer where this job is.
Yeah, but I love him.
Well, it doesn't sound as if he loves you, doesn't it? Otherwise he'd behave better than that. OK, we're finishing there. I'm so sorry. And I know that the tears were sort of put on, but, you know, I was actually struggling with them because they were very much, there were little tiny bits I think might have been a bit for real as well. So I'm sorry about it, and it was the pitfalls. Just tell me how you're feeling truthfully towards me with that sort of behaviour I exhibited.
I was quite, it was quite shocking. There was I didn't feel there was any sympathy. I felt like you were going to give me an answer. And I wasn't looking for an answer, I was looking to work out how I was feeling, and you wanted to put it in a box and label it and say, that's the answer.
Yeah. Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, it's finding the answer. So many counsellors think, you know, counselling is about, you know, giving solutions and solving problems. And I don't even use the word problems, you know, I use issues or concerns. And how did these grab you?
Oh, I find it very difficult, and also that you looked at your watch.
And I was also, apart from you know, stuffing Kleenex tissues up your nose. I was also doing an appalling pitfall of bad body language.
Yeah.
You know, one of which being, you know, putting the arms here,
Yeah.
and people will say, oh, you know, I do that because I'm relaxed with someone, and yet what the client's actually picking up is, you know, one day you'll be as intelligent as me, you know, and it can be a bit patronising.
Yeah.
And certainly, I did this.
Yes.
Did you?
Yeah, I
feel
mean,
that?
I picked up on that, and I couldn't look at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to look anywhere but
Yeah.
at you.
Yeah, and I cannot be saying, and even if I was saying something really nice to you, Louise, like, sounds like you've got a really, you know, thanks for all that help you gave me, and you've been super. You know, I'm saying beautiful things. But, you know, once this is going, I have to be coming from a critical stance.
Yeah.
And it's an incongruence, and in counselling you need congruence, you know. The mouth needs to say the same as the body. That's why you have good actors and bad actors, you know. The good actors, actually, the body does the same thing as they're saying. I also had the leg up, you know, as a barrier.
Yeah.
The other bit about the crying, you know, it really is a dreadful pitfall to stuff tissues at people, because what I'm actually saying to you now, I really can't handle you in that. You know, I'm saying you're pathetic and stop snivelling and pull yourself together. But people do that all the time, you know. You don't want to be seen crying, do you? You know, as if, especially with a funeral bit, you know, don't let anybody see, you know, don't let the side down.
Yeah.
And it's, you just really, with counselling, you just got to stay with the emotions and not block them, and allow, sometimes even to be used as a punch bag. But, you know, I'm kind of so sorry. I felt dreadful doing those things to you.
It's okay.
So, and what interested me, those feelings for you now are real, aren't they, Louise?
Yes.
And yet you were fully aware that I was going to do all the things that I did.
I was. Yeah.
And yet the feelings were still real, even though knowing
Yes.
I was only pretending.
Yeah.
So how many times do we mess people up by doing those kind of pitfalls and recognising people will feel resentful, you know. Because I say, I want to bite it, finger points to me.
Yeah.
Thank you ever so much.
Thank you.
Hello, Mike.
Hello.
I'm Jeanie Civil. Hi. So how can I help?
Well, about a year ago I moved house, and it's not in a bad state of decoration, but I was conscious very much that I really wanted to get the house decorated, and started off with great enthusiasm, and then over the winter it waned a little bit. But this summer I've really wanted to get the outside of the house repainted.
Mm-hmm.
I put a lot of effort into it before I went away on holiday in the early summer, and got it all done. And it was an enormous amount of pressure really to just try and get it all done in between the rain showers and all the rest of it. And I really wanted to have it done perfectly. And it is reasonably done. There's a couple of things. I mean, one is I decided that the guttering needed replacing after I'd had the house decorated, and the man who came to do it did a very good job, but he managed to splash black paint all down the white paintwork. And the other thing is that there's a little cellar window, and it's only something like that, very small, but the wood is rotten, and I thought I'd dug out the rotten wood, but in fact I haven't. It's still quite rotten, and I'm left with this dilemma of whether to get someone in to replace the window, because really it's more than I want to do at the moment, or whether to leave it, or whether to shove some filler over it and do a kind of a botch job. And I know it doesn't sound very much, but it's really getting to me. It's really annoying me in a sense. I haven't really got time to faff about with this. And I don't know.
Did this sort of thing happen when you were small? Did you tend to not finish things then? You
I'm talking about the window.
But do you tend to start things and perhaps not finish them? Can you remember when you were small doing that?
Well, yeah, I can.
I notice your hands. He's sort of trying to protect yourself from me. It looks.
No, I'm talking about my window.
It looks. Well, that's yes. I can hear you talking about your window. But you know, I mean, these things, they don't just sort of happen. I mean,
they stem, don't they, from early childhood experiences. And it's sounding to me like, you know, when you were small, you'd
No, I just wanted
start
to
little
I
jobs.
just really wanted to let off steam, really, about my decorating. I didn't really want to talk about my childhood.
Oh. But can you remember sort of having this sort of thing happen before when you were younger? I mean, there are other times when you started things and not being able to finish. It sounds like, you know, you're not a completer finisher, really, are you?
Sorry, I'm not a...
A completer finisher. You need to perhaps work at, you know, getting things finished. And I mean, otherwise, you're very frustrated at the moment, aren't you?
Well, I am, but I was just wanting to mull over, really, whether I should get this window replaced or whether I should leave it or what.
Well, I would think that you didn't get it replaced. Have you got enough money to do that?
Well, yeah, but it's only a little window like that. It just seems a bit...
Well, you'll soon have it done then, won't you? It's only a small one.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't deal with my frustration about it all.
So tell me about this frustration. That's really interesting. What other things make you frustrated?
Well, just the fact that I wanted to get it done in the summer, and I got it all done, and I just didn't have time to do this little cellar window, and it's only a half-hour job if the wood was all right, but it isn't, and I've got to take the wood out and put new glass in, and just to make it look nice, really.
Yes.
And
Yes,
just as easy to shove a bit of wood in front, but it wouldn't...
I can see that's a presenting problem, but what's really underlying? Tell me about this frustration that's going on for you. What are things like with you and your partner?
I'm not sure that's... I don't really want to talk about my partner.
It's the frustration, though, isn't it, that's a real issue, don't you think?
Well, yes, I am feeling frustrated with it. It's just something that could have so easily got done, and then I could kind of relax and get on with life.
So what stops you from doing it, do you think?
I'm relaxing and getting on with life. Just out the window.
But what is it? What's the real reason for you not finishing it off?
The real reason? Well, I suppose I was hoping you'd tell me that. I don't know.
I don't know anything about painting cellar windows, do I, really?
Well, neither do I, really.
But it sounds more, you know, deeply inset than the presenting problem of the cellar window. It sounds to me as if you're going through life a bit like that all the time, feeling frustrated because, you know, you don't complete things. Can you think of any other examples in your life when that's happened?
Well, no, I always like to get things done.
You do?
And I don't like to do things that that I'm not going to complete.
What other things don't you complete?
Well, I'm tempted to say nothing really, because I don't attempt them if I'm not going to finish them. But
So you're a perfectionist?
well, a bit of me is. Yeah.
Who was it who told you to get things perfect when you were small?
You keep going on about when I was small.
But I can feel.
I mean, I do have a little memory of of having to struggle with looking after my first bike.
Yes.
And not being able to mend a puncture and not knowing how to do it and getting very cross with it.
Right.
And not being able to ride my bike because I had a puncture.
Did you mend the puncture?
Well, no, because in the end there's an amusing story about that. Somebody said use the end of a fork.
Oh, right.
I used the wrong end.
Oh.
And I was so cross because the thing was like a colander at the end.
And you find that's happening to you now that you've grown up? You tend to use the wrong ends of things and misinterpret what people are saying to you? Taking things at face value?
I suppose I do doubt that a little bit, yeah.
You need to work on that, don't you, really?
Do I?
All right, well, we've come to the end of the session. I'm sure that's been very helpful. Right, so we've just had a really awful counselling session. How are you feeling, Mike?
I'm still feeling quite resistant. I think you were really probing, and I a bit of me could realise where you're coming from in terms of looking at earlier experiences, but I really didn't want to go into that. And I thought you were pushing me, and I didn't really want to go, and I was trying to back off as much as I could.
And you were coming with an issue, the presenting problem, and the pitfall I was doing as a counsellor was doing psychoplonking, you know, and I was rooting around for all kinds of psychological reasons as to, you know, not finishing off the window.
Yes.
And it's really important in counselling that you actually deal with what the person is bringing and not go, you know, wandering away.
Right.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. Well, I think I could identify with some of the things you were saying, but I didn't really want to engage with those.
Well, there was a tiny bit of me thinking, oh crumbs, I've actually hit on something here by accident. You know, when you did actually recall the bit about the bike, and I mean, I thought it was super, you know, and using the wrong end of the fork. And then you could actually make that link sort of to now. But the pitfall I was trying to demonstrate was, you know, deal with what's given to you, you know, and don't psychoplonk.
That was the current concern, certainly, the window. And in a sense, I think I was making more of it than I really wanted to, simply because you were pushing me to, I think. Yes.
And I mean, your feelings are real. You know, the resistance is a real feeling, isn't it?
Yes, yes. I didn't want to engage at that sort of level at all.
Right. You could just check whether you're sort of okay now.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Well, thank you ever so much for doing that, and I do apologise.
Okay. Okay.
See you. Hello, Valerie. I'm Jeanie. Hi.
Right, so what would you like to talk about?
My mother. I want to, I'm very worried about the fact that I find myself getting very impatient with her for irritations. She irritates me a lot, and I don't want to get irritated with her, and I don't want to be unpleasant to her. And it upsets me a lot when I've been with her and I haven't been pleasant to her, because she's been so irritating that I've snapped. And also I tend to boss her about rather a lot and tell her what she ought to do. But I don't want to be like that. I want to let her make her own decisions as far as she can do.
Well, I mean, how old is she?
81.
Can she make decisions at that age?
Yes, she's quite capable of making all sorts of decisions, but her problem is, and my problem is, that her memory is going, so that she can't remember sometimes what has happened the previous day, or particularly she can't remember about financial affairs and, you know, the paying bills and all that sort of thing. And so I've taken over that side of her life.
I had to do that with my aunt. She was 96 when she died. And have you been made power of attorney? Because I was made power of attorney.
No, I haven't.
And that might be an idea, mightn't it?
Might.
Yeah, she can't make decisions, really.
But that's not the problem. The problem is that although she doesn't mean to be, she's very annoying, because I suppose what I really mean is that she's embarrassing.
And in what ways is she embarrassing?
Well, like if I take her to Nonna's, as we sometimes go to Nonna's, Italian restaurant, she dances around in the middle of the floor and
Oh, goodness.
and makes crude jokes to the Italian waiters, like, yes, I'll have some pepper and a bit of hot stuff. And
do you know, you just reminded my Ninny, which was, I said she was 96 when she died, They brought her down from Manchester down to Somerset, where I'm living, and she was terrible. I mean, in the ambulance they were saying, "What would you like?" And she just kept saying, "A big dick." I mean, you can't believe it, can you? I was so embarrassed then. Oh, she's the one, isn't she? But, I mean, they are embarrassing at that age, aren't they?
Mm. Yes, but I feel I ought not to be embarrassed because I feel she's wonderful. She's 81 and she just doesn't care about social niceties. And, you know, why shouldn't she? Nobody else is embarrassed by her. It's only because I'm her daughter. So, and also, what else does she do?
Did she take her teeth out?
No, she's got all her own teeth.
Oh, that mine hadn't got her teeth. And when she had this operation, they gave her the operation, and when I went to see her, she had these enormous teeth. Whatever, they'd given her the wrong teeth after the operation.
Good Lord.
Mm. So what else does she do that embarrasses you?
She sometimes when she goes out, she's capable of looking really elegant and nice when she's done her hair and she's got her nice clothes on, but sometimes she goes out looking like an old bag lady and she hasn't done her hair and it's all greasy and nasty and she puts on some ghastly old cardigan and shuffles about. And I think, why look like that when you're perfectly capable of looking like a really elegant old lady? Why do you have to look like a bag lady? And then I think, but why shouldn't she look like a bag lady if she wants to? And I know it's my discomfort. And nobody else is embarrassed by her. It's only me, because I'm her daughter.
It's like that poem, isn't it? When I grow old, I'll wear purple, you know, and she's just, when I grow old, I'm going to be a bag lady. Yeah. Well, that must be ever so difficult for you.
Well, it is difficult because it makes me feel bad about myself. That's what's the difficulty.
But I mean, it's happening to everybody, isn't it? I mean, it's not just you. I mean, everyone goes through this, don't they, with old people, because they all get a bit senile, don't they, and a bit strange.
Yes, but it isn't fair, is it, really? I don't feel that it's fair that...
Well, life isn't fair, is it? Whoever said life was fair? Right. Can we finish there?
Thank you ever so much. And what do you, I mean, how are you feeling right now then, Valerie?
I want to have a good laugh.
Okay, so part of it was wanting to laugh. Was there anything I was doing particularly that created any kind of negative feelings in you?
Yes, I wanted to tell you to shut up and
Right.
listen to me.
Right, so there was a laugh bit, but there was also shut up and listen to me.
Yes, yes.
Because in terms of counselling, you know, people think they're identifying to help.
Yes,
You know, and they're just not. You end up being totally irritated.
yes.
Because when you come to talk about yourself, you want to talk about yourself and not about,
That's
you know, the
right.
counsellor, or you end up with, you know, counsellor needs counselling.
Yes,
They
in
feel
fact, I felt like saying, well, at least she's not as bad as you. She's not that irritating.
Okay, well, I would very much like to thank you for coming, and
It's all a pleasure.
have a look at those 5 that we've shown. Jane, loads and loads of questions. Really important that, you know, as the counsellor you don't nose because you're anxious. So what we really need to do is...
Make sure you're staying with the story of the client and the one that the client wants to tell you.
Not the one you want to hear.
Absolutely. And not being so nosy that you're bombarding the person with questions.
And the biggie, don't ask why, ask what and how. Why is threatening? Why were you late? What happened to make you late?
And
I'll tell you.
What happens is that people go into justification and defensiveness, and that's not good counselling practice.
Right. What do you mean why? I mean, if I knew why, I wouldn't even flipping well be here.
Yeah.
So important to ask open questions. And then, of course, we had the gruesome twosome with Alan. Learning from that?
Learning from that is be very careful about touch.
Absolutely.
And whether it's safe touch, whether it's appropriate touch.
Yep.
And also don't get too emotionally involved and close to the person that you're working with.
Don't abuse that
That's
intimacy.
right. Don't abuse, and be aware of the ethics behind your own practice, that those boundaries are there to preserve the safety of the person who's you're working with, the client, and to also protect you as a person who has to abide by the ethics of the organisation in which they're working.
And if there aren't any, you need to establish them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course lots of counsellors will enjoy that, you know, people have said things to them for the first time. I mean, I know it's happened to me and I felt so privileged with that.
Yeah.
But you don't abuse that. And you can become very intimate, but it's about boundaries.
About boundaries, and don't become hooked by the other person's need for you.
Yeah.
And the flattery.
Yeah.
The pitfall is to be hooked by the flattery of a person who actually sees you as very helpful.
So keep your boundaries, don't give the home telephone, don't go wandering out. There's a difference between friendship and there's a difference between counselling. And then of course Louise, and the tears. And even though she knew, you know, what I was going to do and how awful I would be, and I asked for forgiveness beforehand, you know, out come, as so many counsellors, half a box of tissues.
And the pitfall there is blocking her emotions. Don't block the emotions of the person who comes to you, whether it's anger or tears or sadness, those emotions need to come out in order for the person to feel better and to move forward.
Because what I'm actually saying with the tissues is I can't handle you, you know, you're a mess and I don't want any kind of intimacy with you.
And another pitfall that you did there was all the body language, which was distracting body language. What time is it? Can I go? Can I write? What can I do to put this person off? Which is very distracting and isn't part of a helpful process. And sometimes I think the pitfall is make sure that you're there for the client, not for you being comfortable. And if you like dangly earrings, who's it for? You or the client?
And credibility snatchers, and if I'm saying something wonderful, I won't be actually listened to because these distractions. The biggie of, you know, one day you'll be as intelligent as me, this awful thing that drives me potty. The recognising the different cultures.
That's right, so that, for instance, looking at eye contact there, at times, you know, Louise did say, I didn't want to look at you because of the finger.
Yeah.
But also people might not want to look at you because they're afraid of what you're going to say, that they come from a different cultural group where it's important to show deference and respect by not making eye contact with you apart from brief seconds.
Yeah.
So it's how you use that eye contact is very important.
Yeah. And so it's important that the counsellor may have to sit in an uncomfortable position for them so it's comfortable for the client.
Yeah.
And in terms of body language, two things in my experience that have been really useful as a counsellor. One is recognising that eyes might go in different places, you know, up there if I'm right-handed to recall things, up there if I'm creating things, here when I'm listening, and eyes will go down when people are into feelings, the kinesthetics. So you don't think, you know, look at me, you know, you do allow that, and it's a good tip. And the other thing is, if I ask a client something and they're uncomfortable with what I've asked them, up goes the foot. And equally, if they're talking about something that's making them feel uncomfortable, up goes the foot. Crying with the feet.
So the pitfall, there are two aspects really, aren't there? The pitfall of not recognising the body language of the person who's sitting there and respecting it and responding to it. And the other pitfall is being totally unaware or uncaring about what your body language is doing. We speak so much with our bodies.
Absolutely. And it's about creating rapport. Psychoplonking.
Psychoplonking, he comes in with one problem, which is about his windows, and what do? You go into his childhood.
So what should we be doing?
You should be staying with the problem that he brings, the issue that he brings, staying with the feelings that he wants to talk about, respecting his boundaries.
Right. Yep.
And listening.
Yep. And then, of course, the biggie, the one we see all the time, the one that me, the one that Valerie. You think you've got problems.
And so you immediately take over from the person who's come to see you, as you did, so that in a way it devalues what Valerie brings, because you say, well, my relatives, in a way, it's been worse for me. So Valerie's left with not only her own issue, but thinking that she's disturbed things for you as well, which isn't going to be a helpful experience.
Absolutely. And it's, you know, it's me, I live down a grid. But people do it with good motives. You know, they really genuinely do think they're helping, not recognising that they're not. You know, I do not want to hear what's going on for you. I want to talk about me.
And so anyone who's working with somebody else should make sure that they're not using it as an opportunity to work on their own business. That's a pitfall.
So in summing up, we need to, let's take turns.
Okay. We need to listen.
We need to listen to the music behind the words.
Ask open questions.
Create rapport.
We need to reflect what we're hearing.
Clarify.
Don't impose your values onto the person you're working with.
So making that positive, allow people to have their own values, their own belief systems, and then zipping up.
That's right.
It's been really great working with you.
As ever. You too.
And thanks.
Thanks, Jean.